the moment Madeline Vega stepped into the Moonlight Cafe, rain-soaked and 20 minutes late for her blind date. She knew this was a mistake. Her assistant had insisted this would be good for her meeting someone outside her usual circle of business tycoons and venture capitalists. But as the CEO of Vega Tech Solutions, one of the fastest-growing software companies in the country, Madeline barely had time to eat dinner, let alone date a stranger. "Miss Vega." A deep voice called from a corner table. A man stood, dressed in a simple button-down shirt that had seen better days. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and the warm smile on his face contrasted sharply with the nervous way he adjusted his collar. "Yes, I'm Madeline," she replied, brushing raindrops from her designer blazer as she approached. "And you must be Zachary." "Zach Forrest," he confirmed, extending his hand. His grip was firm and calloused working hands, she noted, not the manicured palms of the executives she typically met. "I was starting to think you might not come." "Traffic and rain," she explained, sliding into the booth opposite him. "I apologize for the delay." "No problem at all. I'm just grateful for the company." His smile reached his eyes, which Madeline noticed were a striking shade of green. "Though I should warn you, I only have a babysitter until 9, so I'm on a bit of a tight schedule." Madeline blinked. A child. Her assistant had conveniently left that detail out. "You have a child?" "A daughter," Zach confirmed, his entire face softening as he pulled out his phone and showed her a photo of a beaming little girl with pigtails and her father's green eyes. "Lily. She's 6 and the absolute light of my life." Madeline nodded politely, though internally she was already planning her exit strategy. A single father wasn't exactly what she had in mind. Her life was complicated enough without adding someone else's child to the mix. "She wanted to help me get ready for tonight," Zach continued with a chuckle. Hence the slightly crooked collar. She insisted on ironing it herself, supervised, of course. Despite herself, Madeline smiled. "She sounds precocious. That's one word for it. Headstrong is another." His eyes crinkled at the corners when he laughed, and Madeline found herself noticing little details about him, the faint scar on his chin, the way he unconsciously tapped his fingers against his water glass, the genuine warmth in his expression. The waitress arrived to take their orders, and Madeline watched as Zach politely asked about the daily special, ultimately choosing one of the less expensive items on the menu. When it was her turn, she ordered without looking at the prices, a habit from years of business dinners where cost was never a consideration. "So," Zach said once the waitress had departed, "Trish told me you run your own company," but she was suspiciously light on details. Madeline straightened slightly. This was comfortable territory. "I'm the founder and CEO of Vega Tech Solutions. We develop enterprise software for healthcare systems." Zach whistled low. "I've read about Vega Tech." "You're the one who created that AI diagnostic tool that's being adopted by hospitals nationwide." Surprised, Madeline nodded. "You follow the tech industry?" "I try to stay informed," he replied. "I'm a high school science teacher by day, but I moonlight as a tech repair specialist." "Fixing computers, phones, that sort of thing?" He shrugged self-deprecatingly. "It helps make ends meet." "That's admirable," Madeline said, meaning it. She'd built her company from nothing, but she'd also had the advantage of venture capital and a Stanford education. "How long have you been teaching?" 8 years. I started right after college and loved it immediately." His passion was evident in his voice. There's something incredible about watching a student grasp a concept for the first time, that moment when their eyes light up with understanding. As their conversation flowed, Madeline found herself relaxing. Zach was intelligent and well-spoken, asking thoughtful questions about her work and sharing amusing anecdotes about his students. He didn't seem intimidated by her success or eager to prove himself her equal, a refreshing change from her usual dates. Their food arrived, and Madeline noticed how Zach's eyes widened slightly at her plate. "That looks amazing," he commented, glancing down at his own more modest meal. "Would you like to try some?" she offered, pushing her plate slightly toward him. He hesitated, then grinned. Only if you'll try mine in exchange. The simple act of sharing food broke down another barrier between them. They talked about their backgrounds, Madeline's childhood, as the daughter of immigrants who had instilled in her a fierce work ethic, and Zach's upbringing in a small town where he'd been raised by his grandmother after his parents died in a car accident when he was 12. What about Lily's mother? Madeline found herself asking, then immediately regretted the personal question. I'm sorry, that's none of my business. No, it's fine, Zach assured her, though a shadow crossed his face. Clara and I met in college. We were young and in love, and when she got pregnant, we thought we could make it work. But after Lily was born, he trailed off, choosing his words carefully. Clara realized motherhood wasn't for her. She left when Lily was 6 months old. The divorce was finalized a year later, and she's not really in the picture anymore. That must be difficult, Madeline said softly. It was at first. Being a single parent while trying to establish my teaching career wasn't exactly the life I'd planned. His expression brightened. But honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. Lily is the best thing that's ever happened to me. The conviction in his voice touched something in Madeline. Her own relationships had always taken a backseat to her career. The few men she dated seriously had eventually tired of competing with her company for attention. What about you? Zach asked. Any past marriages or secret children I should know about? Madeline laughed. No marriages, secret or otherwise. I've been too focused on building Vega Tech to consider it seriously. She traced the rim of her wine glass. My last relationship ended because he couldn't understand why I'd choose to work late instead of attending his company parties. His loss, Zach said simply. Anyone worth your time should appreciate your dedication, not resent it. The sentiment, so plainly stated, caught Madeline off guard. She'd spent years defending her priorities to partners who claimed to support her career, but ultimately expected her to compromise in ways they never would. As their dinner plates were cleared, Zach glanced at his watch and sighed. I hate to cut this short, but I should get going. The babysitter has an early class tomorrow. Madeline was surprised to feel disappointed. Of course, I understand. When the check arrived, Zach reached for it immediately, but Madeline was faster. Please let me, she insisted. A flash of discomfort crossed his face. I asked you to dinner. I should pay. Consider it my thanks for a lovely evening, Madeline replied, sliding her credit card into the folder before he could protest further. She'd learned long ago that some men found her financial success threatening, but Zach's reaction seemed more about pride than insecurity. Then I'll have to make it up to you next time, he said, then paused. That is, if you'd like there to be a next time, Madeline found herself smiling. I'd like that very much. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets glistening under the streetlights. They walked toward the parking lot in comfortable silence. This is me, Zach said, stopping beside an older model sedan that had clearly seen better days. Thanks again for dinner, and for taking a chance on a blind date with a science teacher. Thank you for making it worth my while, Madeline replied, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her, but instead he reached out and gently squeezed her hand. Good night, Madeline. Good night, Zach. As she watched him drive away, Madeline realized she was still smiling. She couldn't remember the last time she'd enjoyed a first date this much. There were 1,000 reasons why dating a single father with a modest income was impractical for someone in her position. But as she drove home to her empty penthouse apartment, none of those reasons seemed particularly compelling. The next morning, Madeline was midway through her second cup of coffee and reviewing quarterly projections when her phone chimed. A text from Zach. Just wanted to say thanks again for last night. Lily says my smile this morning means our date must have been super awesome. Madeline laughed aloud, startling her assistant who had just entered her office with the day's schedule. She quickly composed herself and replied, Your daughter is very perceptive. It was indeed super awesome. 3 days later, they met again, this time for coffee on a Saturday afternoon. Zach had explained that weekends were precious time with Lily, so Madeline had suggested a quick coffee instead of a formal date. She'd been surprised when he countered with an invitation to join them at the local science museum, where Lily had been begging to see the new dinosaur exhibit. "You don't have to say yes," he'd added quickly. "I know meeting someone's kid is a big step, and we've only had one date." The old Madeline would have declined immediately. Involving a child complicated matters exponentially. But something about Zach's straightforward approach made her reconsider her usual boundaries. "I'd love to come," she found herself saying, "as long as Lily is okay with it." Which was how Madeline Vega, CEO of a multimillion-dollar tech company, found herself walking through a dinosaur exhibit on a Saturday morning, being educated by an enthusiastic 6-year-old. "This is a triceratops," Lily explained seriously, pointing at the massive skeleton. "They were herbivores, which means they only ate plants. Dad says I'm like a triceratops because I'm stubborn but nice." Madeline glanced at Zach, who shrugged with a grin. She asked what dinosaur she would be. It seemed fitting. "And what dinosaur is your dad?" Madeline asked Lily, charmed by the little girl's earnestness. Lily considered this carefully. "Dad is like a brachiosaurus because he's tall and gentle and takes care of everyone." "That's very accurate," Madeline agreed, surprised by how easily she was conversing with the child. She'd never spent much time around children, assuming she wouldn't know how to relate to them. "What dinosaur are you?" Lily asked, looking up at Madeline with curious eyes. Madeline hesitated, but Zach jumped in. "What do you think, Lily? What dinosaur would Miss Vega be?" Lily studied Madeline intently, her small face screwed up in concentration. "I think a velociraptor." Zach laughed. "Oh, why's that?" "Because she's smart and pretty and looks like she could run very fast in those shoes." Madeline couldn't help but laugh. "That's quite a compliment." "Thank you, Lily." The day continued with Lily leading them through the exhibits, her energy seemingly inexhaustible. Madeline found herself genuinely enjoying the child's company. Lily was bright and curious, asking thoughtful questions and listening attentively to the answers. It was clear that Zach had fostered his daughter's natural intelligence, encouraging her interest in science without pushing her. When Lily ran ahead to look at a display of fossilized footprints, Zach turned to Madeline. "Thanks for being so good with her." Not everyone would be willing to spend their Saturday with someone else's kid. "She's wonderful," Madeline said honestly. "You're doing an amazing job with her." A shadow crossed his face. "I try. Sometimes I worry that I'm not giving her enough, not just material things, but experiences, opportunities. Teaching doesn't exactly pay well, and even with the side work fixing computers, things are tight sometimes." "From what I can see, you're giving her exactly what she needs," Madeline said softly. "She's happy, curious, and clearly adores you. That's worth more than any amount of money could buy." The gratitude in Zach's eyes made her heart skip a beat. Without thinking, she reached out and took his hand, squeezing it gently. He squeezed back, and they stood that way for a moment, watching Lily examine the fossilized footprints with scientific precision. "Dad, Madeline, come look at these tiny baby dinosaur prints." Lily called, and the moment was broken. But as they walked over to join her, Zach's hand remained firmly intertwined with Madeline's. Over the next few weeks, Madeline found herself drawn deeper into Zach and Lily's world. There were quiet dinners at Zach's modest apartment, where Lily insisted on helping cook and setting the table like fancy restaurants do. There were Sunday afternoon trips to the park, where Zach taught Madeline the fine art of flying a kite while Lily ran circles around them, shouting encouragement. And there were evenings after Lily had gone to bed, when Zach and Madeline would talk for hours, discovering the many ways in which their vastly different lives had shaped similar values. Madeline learned that Zach had turned down a lucrative position with a pharmaceutical company to pursue teaching because he believed in making a difference. She told him about the early days of Vega Tech, when she'd worked 18-hour days and slept on an air mattress in her office because she couldn't afford both rent and payroll. "You could have given up," Zach commented one evening as they sat on his worn couch, a glass of inexpensive but surprisingly good wine in hand. "Most people would have." "I'm not most people," Madeline replied with a smile. "Neither are you. You could have chosen a career that would make providing for Lily easier, but you chose to follow your passion for teaching." "Sometimes I wonder if that was selfish," he admitted. "There are things I can't give her that other kids have." "Like what?" "Like dance lessons, for starters. She's been begging to take ballet, but the local studio costs more than I can manage right now, especially with back-to-school expenses coming up." Madeline's immediate instinct was to offer to pay for the lessons, but she caught herself. Their relationship was still new, and she didn't want to overstep or make him feel inadequate. "What does Lily want to be when she grows up?" she asked instead. Zach laughed. "It changes weekly. Last month it was astronaut. This week it's veterinarian. She loves animals but has never had a pet because of my allergies. I feel guilty about that too." "You can't help being allergic," Madeline pointed out, "and it sounds like you're doing an excellent job of nurturing her interests, even as they change." "I try." He looked at her thoughtfully. "You know, you're not at all what I expected when Trish suggested this blind date." "Oh, what did you expect? Honestly, someone cold and corporate, all business and no heart." He took her hand, running his thumb across her knuckles. "Instead, you're this amazing woman who can run a board meeting and then spend hours helping a 6-year-old build a volcano for her science project." Madeline felt her cheeks warm. "I've enjoyed getting to know both of you more than I expected to. Lily is extraordinary, and you." She paused, realizing they were approaching territory they hadn't yet explored. "You're unlike anyone I've ever dated." "Because I'm a broke teacher?" he asked, his tone light but his eyes serious. "Because you're authentic," she corrected. "You know who you are and what matters to you." "That's rare." Their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to thicken. Slowly, Zach leaned forward, giving her time to pull away. Instead, Madeline closed the distance, and their lips met in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened with an intensity that surprised them both. When they finally broke apart, Zach's expression was a mixture of desire and wonder. "I've been wanting to do that for weeks," he admitted. "What took you so long?" Madeline teased, still a little breathless. "I needed to be sure," he said simply. "Not just for me, but for Lily too. She's already getting attached to you, and I don't want her to get hurt." The weight of his words settled over Madeline. This wasn't just about two adults exploring a connection, there was a child's heart at stake too. "I understand," she said softly, "and I don't want to hurt either of you." "This is all new territory for me." "For me too," Zach confessed. "I haven't dated much since Clara left. It's hard to find someone who understands that Lily will always be my priority." "As she should be," Madeline said firmly. "I would never expect otherwise." Zach's relief was palpable. "So, where do we go from here?" "Forward, I hope," Madeline replied, leaning in to kiss him again. "One day at a time." As summer turned to fall, Madeline found herself increasingly woven into the fabric of Zach and Lily's lives. She helped Lily pick out her first day of school outfit, attended parent-teacher conferences as Zach's +1, and even learned to cook a few simple meals under Lily's exacting supervision. For Halloween, they coordinated costumes, Lily as a mad scientist, Zach as her monster creation, and Madeline as the lab assistant. They trick or treated through Zach's neighborhood, where everyone seemed to know and adore Lily. Madeline watched as Zach chatted easily with his neighbors, checking in on an elderly woman's leaky faucet and promising to look at another family's malfunctioning laptop. "Everyone loves you," Madeline observed as they walked back to his apartment, Lily running ahead with her candy haul. "I just try to help where I can," Zach replied. When Clara left, this community stepped up. Mrs. Ramirez watched Lily for free when I had to work late. The Johnsons always invited us for dinner when they could tell I was struggling. You don't forget kindness like that. Madeline thought about her own life, her luxury apartment building where she barely knew her neighbors, the professional relationships that rarely extended beyond business. For all her success, she'd built few of the meaningful connections that seemed to come so naturally to Zach. "You've created something beautiful here," she said softly. "Not just with Lily, but with all of these people." "It's not much compared to what you've built," Zach responded, gesturing vaguely toward the downtown skyline where Vega Tech's headquarters dominated the view. "It's everything," Madeline said, surprising herself with her vehemence. "Buildings and stock prices don't keep you warm at night." Zach's eyes searched hers. "Are you okay?" Madeline sighed. "I'm just realizing how empty parts of my life have been. I've been so focused on success that I forgot why I wanted it in the first place. And why did you want it? Security, control, to never feel as helpless as I did when my parents were struggling to make ends meet." She shook her head. "But somewhere along the way, I forgot about the things that actually make life worth living." Zach wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "It's never too late to refocus." "Dad, Madeline, hurry up!" Lily called from the apartment steps, her Halloween bucket clutched tightly in her arms. "I want to sort my candy." "Coming, sweetheart," Zach called back, then turned to Madeline. "Are you staying tonight?" In the months they'd been dating, Madeline had never spent the night when Lily was home. It was a boundary they'd established early, wanting to be mindful of how their relationship was presented to the child. "I should probably head home," Madeline said reluctantly. "Early meeting tomorrow." Disappointment flickered across Zach's face, but he nodded. "I understand." "We're still on for dinner tomorrow night, though, right? It's my turn to cook." "Wouldn't miss it," Madeline assured him, standing on tiptoe to kiss him goodbye. Later that night, as she sat alone in her pristine penthouse apartment, Madeline found herself missing the cheerful chaos of Zach's home. She thought about Lily's infectious laughter as she sorted her candy into meticulous piles, and Zach's gentle patience as he explained why she couldn't eat it all at once. With a start, Madeline realized she was falling in love not just with Zach, but with Lily too. With their little family unit that had somehow made space for her in their lives. The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. The next evening, Madeline arrived at Zach's apartment to find him frantic, his phone pressed to his ear as he paced the small living room. Lily sat on the couch, her face tear-streaked and miserable. "What's wrong?" Madeline asked, immediately crossing to Lily and sitting beside her. "Dad's car won't start," Lily hiccuped through her tears, "and I'm going to miss my school play." Zach covered the phone with his hand. The timing belt snapped. "I've called every mechanic in town, but it's going to take days to fix, and the school play starts in an hour." "My costume is ready and everything," Lily said, fresh tears welling in her eyes. "I practiced so hard to be the best tree ever. Can't we take a taxi?" Madeline suggested. Zach shook his head. "I've tried. There's a convention in town and every taxi and ride service is booked solid." He looked utterly defeated. "I promised her I'd never let her down like her mother did, and now—" "We'll take my car," Madeline said firmly. "Your car." Zach looked confused. "Yes, my car. I drove here, remember? We can all go together." Relief washed over his face, followed quickly by embarrassment. "Of course, I wasn't thinking clearly. Are you sure you don't mind?" "Not at all," Madeline assured him, turning to Lily. "Now, let's get you into your tree costume, shall we?" Lily's transformation from tears to excitement was instantaneous. She jumped up and hugged Madeline fiercely. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." 45 minutes later, they were seated in the elementary school auditorium, watching as Lily performed her role as third tree from the left with solemn dedication. Zach recorded every moment on his phone, his face a picture of pride. Madeline found herself equally entranced, cheering enthusiastically when Lily delivered her one line perfectly. After the performance, as they walked through the school parking lot with a jubilant Lily skipping ahead, Zach turned to Madeline. "Thank you for saving the day." "All I did was drive," she replied with a shrug. No, you did much more than that. He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. You dropped everything to be there for Lily, for us. Of course I did, Madeline said, surprised by his intensity. That's what you do for people you love. The words hung in the air between them. She hadn't meant to say it so casually, but now that it was out, she didn't want to take it back. Zach's expression softened. People you love. Yes, Madeline confirmed, her heart racing but her voice steady. I love you, Zachary Forrest. And I love your daughter. I love the life you've built and the man you are. For a moment, Zach just stared at her, and Madeline felt a flutter of doubt. Then, in one swift movement, he pulled her into his arms, lifting her slightly off the ground as he kissed her with an intensity that left no doubt about his feelings. I love you too, he murmured against her lips. So much that it terrifies me sometimes. Dad and Madeline sitting in a tree, kissing. Lily's sing-song voice interrupted their moment, and they broke apart to find her watching them with a huge grin. Are you going to get married now? Zach choked slightly. Lily, that's not we haven't. It's okay, Dad, Lily said, patting his arm. I already decided I want Madeline to be my bonus mom. She's way better than my real mom because she actually shows up. The simple, honest statement hit Madeline like a physical blow. She knelt down to Lily's level, choosing her words carefully. Lily, that's a very sweet thing to say. I care about you very much, but your real mom will always be your mom, even if she's not around. Lily considered this. But you could still be my bonus mom, right? Like how Mia at school has a stepmom who takes her for ice cream and helps her with homework. Madeline glanced up at Zach, who looked simultaneously mortified and hopeful. That's something your dad and I would need to talk about, she said gently. But I'm not going anywhere, I promise. This seemed to satisfy Lily, who nodded solemnly. Good, because Dad smiles a lot more when you're around, and he doesn't look at the bills with his worried face so much. Okay, that's enough family revelations for one night, Zach interjected, his cheeks flushed. How about we go get some ice cream to celebrate your amazing performance? As they drove to the ice cream parlor, Madeline caught Zach's eye in the rearview mirror. He mouthed, I'm sorry, with a rueful smile, but Madeline just shook her head and smiled back. She wasn't sorry at all. The car issue, however, proved more complicated than anticipated. The repair would cost nearly $2,000 money that Zach simply didn't have. I can help, Madeline offered when he told her the estimate a few days later. No, Zach said firmly. I appreciate it, but I can't take your money. It wouldn't be taking, Madeline argued. It would be accepting help from someone who loves you. It's too much. I'll figure something out. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Maybe I can pick up some extra repair jobs or sell some of my old equipment. Zach, Madeline said gently, would you hesitate to help me if our situations were reversed? That's different. How? He struggled to articulate his discomfort. Because you're successful on your own, you don't need my help. Everyone needs help sometimes, she countered. My company wouldn't exist if my first investor hadn't taken a chance on me. Accepting help doesn't diminish you. Zach was quiet for a long moment. It's hard, he finally admitted. I've been doing everything on my own for so long, being responsible for everything. The thought of depending on someone else is scary, Madeline finished for him. I get it. I've built my entire life around not needing anyone, but loving someone means being vulnerable with them, letting them see the parts of yourself you try to hide from everyone else. Their eyes met, and Madeline saw the conflict in his. What if I can't pay you back? He asked quietly. Then you can't pay me back, she replied simply. And that would be okay too. In the end, they compromised. Madeline would help with the car repair, and Zach would teach her to code in Python, a skill she'd been meaning to learn but never found the time for. It wasn't an equal exchange financially, but it allowed Zach to maintain his dignity while accepting her help. As winter approached, Madeline found herself spending more time at Zach's apartment than her own. She kept a toothbrush in his bathroom and a change of clothes in his dresser. Lily had cleared a special shelf in her room for Madeline things. where she proudly displayed the origami animals Madeline had taught her to make, and the seashells they'd collected during a day trip to the beach. One evening in early December, after Lily had gone to bed, Zach and Madeline sat on his couch discussing holiday plans. "I usually take Lily to my grandmother's for Christmas," Zach explained. "It's a 5-hour drive, but it's tradition. Would you want to come with us?" The invitation touched Madeline deeply. Meeting his only living relative was a significant step. "I'd love to," she said. "But what about your birthday? It's the week before Christmas, right? Should we do something special?" Zach laughed. "I haven't celebrated my birthday properly since Lily was born. Usually we just have cupcakes and call it a day." "Well, this year is going to be different," Madeline declared. 34 is an important birthday." "It is." Zach looked skeptical. "Absolutely, it's the gateway to your mid-30s. Very significant," he chuckled, pulling her closer. "Whatever you say. But nothing extravagant, please. I'm a simple man with simple tastes." "Noted," Madeline agreed, though her mind was already racing with ideas. "Now, about Christmas at your grandmother's, what should I bring?" "Just yourself," Zach assured her. "Grandma Rose will love you regardless, but if you really want to win her over, mention that you know how to make pierogi. She's Polish and believes firmly that the ability to make proper pierogi is the mark of a worthy partner." "Do I need to actually know how to make them, or can I just claim knowledge?" Madeline asked, only half joking. "Honesty is probably the best policy," Zach advised with a grin. "But I can teach you before we go. It's not that difficult." A man who can teach both Python and pierogi making, I really hit the jackpot. Madeline leaned in to kiss him, but was interrupted by a small voice from the hallway. "Dad, I had a bad dream." They looked up to see Lily standing in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her hair was tousled from sleep, and her eyes were wide with residual fear. "Come here, sweetheart," Zach said, opening his arms. Lily ran to him, climbing onto his lap and burying her face against his chest. "There was a monster under my bed," she whispered. "It had big teeth and red eyes." "That's very scary," Zach said seriously. "Would you like me to check under your bed to make sure it's gone?" Lily nodded, then glanced shyly at Madeline. Can Madeline come too?" "Monsters are extra scared of grown-up ladies." "Is that right?" Madeline asked, playing along. "Well, I'd be happy to help scare away any monsters." Together, the three of them went to Lily's room, where Zach and Madeline made a great show of checking under the bed, in the closet, and behind the curtains, declaring the room officially monster-free. Lily settled back into bed, but when Zach moved to leave, she grabbed his hand. "Can you both stay until I fall asleep?" she asked in a small voice. Zach looked at Madeline, who nodded immediately. They sat on either side of Lily's bed, and Madeline began to softly hum a lullaby her own mother had sung to her as a child. Within minutes, Lily's breathing had deepened into sleep. As they tiptoed out of the room, Zach took Madeline's hand. "You're amazing with her," he said softly. "She adores you." "The feeling is mutual," Madeline replied. "She's an extraordinary child." "Move in with us," Zach said suddenly. Madeline blinked. "What?" "Move in with us," he repeated, his expression earnest. "I know my place is small and nothing like what you're used to, but Madeline silenced him with a kiss. "Yes," she said when they broke apart. "Yes, I'll move in with you, but what?" Worry flickered across his face. "But I think we should look for a new place together," Madeline suggested. "Somewhere with enough space for all of us, including a proper office where I can work from home sometimes." Relief washed over Zach's features. "You're sure? That's a big step." "I've never been more sure of anything," Madeline said, realizing as she spoke that it was absolutely true. "I love our life together. I love coming home to you and Lily. I love being a part of your family." Zach's eyes shimmered with emotion. "I love you, Madeline Vega." More than I ever thought possible. For Zach's birthday, Madeline arranged a surprise that brought tears to his eyes: ballet lessons for Lily at the city's most prestigious dance academy. She had worried it might seem like an overreach, but Zach's gratitude was overwhelming. How did you even manage this? He asked as they watched Lily twirl around the living room in her new leotard and tutu. This academy has a waiting list a mile long, Madeline shrugged. One of my board members is a major donor to the arts. She was happy to make a call when I explained the situation. And the scholarship? Zach asked, referring to the financial arrangement Madeline had negotiated to cover Lily's tuition. Completely legitimate, Madeline assured him. The academy has a program specifically for talented children who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford lessons. All Lily had to do was audition, which she did beautifully. Thank you, Zach said simply, his voice thick with emotion. Not just for this, but for understanding how important it was to me that she earn this opportunity rather than have it handed to her because of who you are. Madeline squeezed his hand. She deserves every chance to pursue her dreams, just like her father deserves to see his daughter thrive. Christmas at Grandma Rose's was everything Madeline had hoped for: warm, chaotic, and filled with love. The elderly woman had welcomed Madeline with open arms, declaring within hours that she was exactly what Zachary and Lily need. Together, they had made pierogi, with varying degrees of success on Madeline's part, decorated a massive tree, and stayed up late sharing family stories. On New Year's Eve, after Lily had fallen asleep clutching the new telescope Madeline had given her for Christmas, Zach led Madeline onto the small balcony of his apartment. The night was clear and cold, the city lights sparkling below them like earthbound stars. I've been thinking, Zach said, his breath forming clouds in the chilly air, about what you said regarding finding a new place together. Yes, Madeline prompted when he paused. I think before we do that, there's something else we should consider. He took a deep breath, then slowly lowered himself to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Madeline's hand flew to her mouth. Zach, Madeline Vega, he said, his voice steady despite the nervous tremor in his hands. This past year has been the most extraordinary of my life. You've shown me that love doesn't have to be complicated to be profound. You've embraced not just me, but my daughter and our life, with all its limitations and challenges. He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. This isn't as grand as you deserve, but it's perfect, Madeline interrupted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're perfect. Will you marry me? Zach asked, his green eyes shining with hope and love. Will you build a life with us, messy and imperfect as it might be? Yes, Madeline whispered, then louder. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Zach slid the ring onto her finger, then stood and gathered her in his arms, lifting her off her feet as he kissed her. When he set her down, Madeline noticed a small movement behind the curtained doorway. I think we have an audience, she murmured, nodding toward the door. Zach turned and called out, Lily Forrest, aren't you supposed to be asleep? The curtain moved again, and Lily's face appeared, her expression a mixture of guilt and excitement. I heard voices. Did she say yes? Are you going to be my bonus mom for real now? Madeline laughed, extending her hand to the little girl. Come here, sweetheart. Lily ran to them, and Zach lifted her up so they were all at eye level. What do you think, Lily? He asked. Are you okay with Madeline becoming a permanent part of our family? Yes, Lily exclaimed, throwing her arms around both of them. This is the best day ever. As the three of them stood on the balcony, wrapped in a family embrace, while fireworks began to explode across the city skyline announcing the arrival of the new year, Madeline felt a profound sense of rightness settle over her. She had walked into that cafe nearly a year ago expecting nothing more than an awkward blind date. Instead, she had found a love so deep and true, it had transformed her understanding of what really mattered in life. Success, she now realized, wasn't measured in stock prices or corporate acquisitions. It was measured in moments like this: holding the people you love close, building a life that was meaningful not because of what you accomplished, but because of who you cherished along the way. Happy New Year, Zach murmured, pressing his forehead to hers. Happy new beginning, Madeline replied, knowing with absolute certainty that the best chapters of their story were yet to be written.